I'm Gary Nickerson,
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
and this is Outside My Window. Our Destinations Travel is a locally born travel agency that started as a father daughter duo and is now a full travel agency with agents in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Kelly Belliveau is a senior travel consultant who started the business with her father, Mike. Kelly's been in the travel business for over 10 years and has traveled extensively. Seretha Gaudet is a brand new travel agent who's been with the company just over a month now. She's starting her travel journey this summer, and both Kelly and Seretha are excited to discuss travel. And ladies, we're very excited to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Kelly, I want to start with you. A lot of people will follow in their father's or mother's footsteps, but at, at what age did you decide that, yeah, I want to be a travel consultant, and why?
Well, that's definitely a fun question because I actually pulled my father into the business. He was actually a manager of a grocery store for over 25 years and retired. And I was with a host agency who was no longer going to be in the business. And they decided that they were going to release my contract, which meant I had to look for another host agency, which for anybody that's in the travel industry, it can be really, overwhelming to look at what's out there and who's out there. And we decided to me and my father discussed it, and we decided to just open our own agency, which is definitely a lot of work, but it was kind of nice to say we were independent and we did it all on our own. So that's good for sure.
Saritha, tell us your story.
So Kelly and I have been friends for a million years, and she talks all the time about travels and where she's going. And honestly, I had seen an ad on Facebook where they were advertising for an agent, and on a whim, I clicked the link because I think one of the things that COVID has taught me is that you just kind of need to seize the day and live in the moment. And so I thought, what better way than to help people with their travel plans?
The travel side of things isn't anywhere near what your quote unquote day job is like, is it?
Absolutely not. It is the sun and the moon in the matter of distance and and sameness.
So what motivated you to click the link other than the COVID and seize the day and all that stuff? What was it about being a travel consultant, Saritha, that appealed to you?
I think the more I learn about the business, the more I think it'll benefit me in my travel plans. So this year we're planning on going to Salem, and then I'm visiting a few of the states, but then I really want to branch out. I'm very interested in what I call the spooky things. So starting with Salem and then really experiencing what other people can experience around the world. I want to look for those out of the way places.
And is there a call for that? Are people looking for that kind of like a theme to their vacation plans?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, Saritha's she's the example, right? So I think there's definitely a niche market available, just like there is for anything. Like I mostly specialize in family, so this would be more along the lines of what Saritha's passionate about, and I think that's what is going to make it very worthwhile for any clients that are looking for that type of experience to be with somebody that is as passionate about that as she is. So I think that's definitely a market for that, or there is definitely a market for that.
So a couple of years ago, the world's pretty wide open for Canadians that want to travel the world. Our passports well accepted. We don't have to worry too much about visas and all kinds of other paperwork and red tape and whatever. And then COVID strikes and pulls the rug out of your industry altogether. How did you pivot?
Well, we really couldn't do very much about it. I think, and luckily Saritha missed all this fun stuff. But like the first few months was just really, if you talk to any travel advisor in the business, they were just long days of just waiting on hold for cancellations, refunds, and just continuing following up with all of these different suppliers. So it was definitely stressful because at that point, I don't know if anybody's really well aware how we get paid, but we don't get paid until a client travels. So in that case, we were working for free for many, many long days. And it was really just being patient, and the suppliers were super helpful with what they could do. But with regards to pivoting the business, there really wasn't much that we could really touch on other than just, holding strong and hoping that it was going to turn around.
So when the restrictions started, relaxing, then they tightened back up, and then it's one thing today and another thing tomorrow. That must have been extremely frustrating for you as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We were getting more localized traffic. So like people just looking to, I don't know, get further down the province, or maybe go to a different province, is kind of sticking within Canada, depending on what the restrictions were at the time. So we were getting a little bit of that, but not really the big packages that people were looking for. So it was definitely frustrating, because you think it's starting to turn around, and then all of a sudden it just kind of dives again.
After this 2 year shutdown, 2 years or more, I know that a lot of people are anxious to get out there and travel. With your experience, Kelly, are there some favorite destinations, some repeat destinations that, Nova Scotians like to go to, or now are they looking at maybe something different? Maybe they've never been on a cruise, or what have you. What are you getting back from your clientele or potential clientele?
I think it's actually, I kind of pivoted a little bit, because, like I said, I usually cater to family travel. And when restrictions lifted, I'd say basically from January on has just been full stop for, or full tilt, sorry, for the Caribbean, which is, I think people, and I'm calling it revenge travel, because people have just been so frustrated with not being able to travel, that they're just like, okay, we want to go, and we want to go now. So I'm getting a ton of people that just want to go anywhere, and they don't really even care where. So when I get quote requests for the Caribbean, they're just like, we don't care which island, just make sure there's good food and a good hotel. So I think that's kind of the shift, that before people would plan months and months in advance. And this year, with the travel coming back, people are just like, no, we want to travel next month, or in the next 2 weeks, or whatever the case is. So it's definitely shifted in that sense.
With all of the restrictions, that's happened in the past, and the different requirements in order to be able to travel, where are we at right now? Like, what does it take to travel internationally?
A lot of those restrictions have lifted. Like even some of the Caribbean islands that have been really holding out and requiring like still PCR testing have lifted those restrictions. So there's still some places like the U.S. Currently where you need rapid testing done before you can enter the country. You still need to be fully vaccinated in most locations, and definitely if you're flying, you still need to be fully vaccinated. So those restrictions are in place. So if I think really where you're going to get a lot of issues is the people that aren't vaccinated. So those are the ones you're kind of going to have to jump through hoops to provide documentation for that type of thing. But for the most part, a lot of those, like the testing requirements, are all gone. I just traveled to Europe a few weeks ago, and they actually, while we were on the cruise ship, the day before we were supposed to go into Serbia, they lifted the testing restrictions for Canadian passports. So we kind of lucked out there where we didn't need to retest. But yeah, so I think you're seeing all of those restrictions start to lift. And I'm hoping, I'm not the U.S., but I'm hoping that the U.S. will lift those restrictions as well.
A lot of times, people save up for a long time to go on a vacation. And when you think about it, people haven't done anything or gone anywhere for a couple of years. So they they must have a few bucks kind of like squandered away in order to be able to take a decent vacation. So are people going a little further out than what they might normal?
You get the few that are willing to look at other options. So definitely, cruising has picked up, I noticed, which is funny because I thought that was going to be the last one to come back because of the restrictions with the Canadian government. But that one, and I'm seeing people looking for not just, the cheapest stateroom that they can get. They want, the balcony, they want the European option. So they're looking to go a little bit further because, they've just been stuck in their house for so long that they want that extra. So whatever that bucket list trip is, or maybe it's not even the bucket list, they just want to go further than down south. So you're seeing that come up a lot more too.
Now, there's a lot of quote unquote travel sites out there on the internet. The internet's a wonderful thing. It's a great resource to have. Certainly there's people that'll say, well, geez, I can do this myself. I can do this myself. What's the biggest advantage for using somebody like yourself to plan this and book this and put this together for me rather than me trying to poke around the internet on a couple of these sites to figure it out?
I think you kind of just touched on it there. We're the ones doing all the research for you, so you don't have to do all of that research. We're making sure that and it's funny too, because I'll get people come to me and ask about Airbnbs, and I'm like, there are some fantastic Airbnbs out there, but we can't vet them all, so we don't offer it, if that makes sense. So we actually vet the properties to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for our clients. So we don't want to send somebody somewhere if, there's no food or there's, really bad service or the property is not clean. So that's something that we're doing, and we're charging generally the same price that you would see online. And usually if you can find a better price online, we can usually work to either get that price or to figure out why that price is so much cheaper, because I've seen that come up a few times where I've quoted something and somebody's come up with a different price and it's actually not even the same package. So we look for those little things. I've seen that a lot of times with certain sites where it says the price is this, but when you actually go through to the end, there's a whole bunch of add-ons that, weren't included, but that's something that you'd have to pay to get what you're looking for. So we actually include all of that in our fees so that you don't have to, or not even our fees, we actually work with the wholesalers directly. So you don't have to worry about any extra add-ons that you didn't really think about.
And that's the thing too, is that you've built up those relationships and you're able to leverage that on behalf of your clients. But also too, some of the places that I'm sure you're recommending, you've been there. You know what it is.
Right. Yep, for sure. And the other thing too is we have this, we've partnered with a company that can actually get us even better rates than sometimes what you can see online. I know we have a lot of group rate options for cruising and things like that. So there's a lot of advantages with going with a travel agent or advisor that you might not see online too.
So that just made me think of something like a destination wedding or
Yeah.
a 25th anniversary party somewhere or whatever. So if you got a bunch of people that are looking to go all one place at the same time, you can handle that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have to be honest, like I know before I started working in the travel industry, the thought of putting a group together, just myself, was absolutely terrifying. So I can just imagine what it's like for a bride and groom trying to figure this out, or a couple that's going to get married and they have to worry about their wedding on top of a whole group of family members and friends going. So we kind of take that piece away, so that stress isn't there, right?
I like to consider myself a self-serve kind of guy, but there are times when you just got to call in the experts. And certainly if I was trying to go away and I wanted to make sure things were done right, I can't say that I'd be confident enough to be able to make sure that I dot the I's and cross the T's right.
Yeah, and that's what we do, and that's our job, right? We want to make sure that everything's in place so that your vacation is absolutely stress-free. And like I said, in most cases, we can get the rates either better or the exact same that you would see online. So you're basically getting our services for free.
And see, I'm I like to consider myself frugal on a good day, but there's also a premium to be paid for the worry-free.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yep. And if currently we don't charge any fees. I'm not saying that won't change in the future. Obviously, with the demand and the need for certain things, like with us not making money for 2 years, that was definitely a big blow to our industry and our agency for sure. But we definitely want to try and keep it as easy for the clients as possible. And if we can offer you a package for the same price that you're going to see online, then that's what we want to do. So I know, like, I'm going to talk about Disney because that's my niche market. And
Oh, we were gonna get there eventually. Yes.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, you definitely, like, that's something that it's a lot to take in as a family, and that's something that we want to make sure that you don't have to stress about, right? So yeah, sorry, I'll let you get to that question then.
No. Disney was certainly on my list of things to chat about because there are a lot of options. You can stay on site or off site, and there's plus this, plus that, meal plan this, and alcohol plan that, or whatever. I don't know if Disney does that or not, but I know that some of the other places have that. All of these kind of little nuances would just freak me out as a first time traveler that way. I mean, I've traveled for work, but that's the thing. It's just bang, bang, hotel, car, like nothing fancy. And I'm not trying to plan entertainment around all of that. So certainly if I tried to sit down and plan something like a Disney vacation, I'd get lost in the options.
And yeah, and that's why we do extensive training. We actually have 2 agents this year from our agency who are going to Disney with, like, that are being hosted by Disney to learn more and to do the training on site. So we definitely do a lot of work, not just with Disney. I mean, we've been to other resorts as well. We'll do site tours and things like that. So we're taking care of those little nuances. So we do so much, like even the online training. Poor Seretha, we've just kind of thrown her into it. Like she could be sitting in front of her computer for months just doing training. So that's why we really, all the agents or advisors that we have on board, we really tell them to focus on their niche market to really get trained or, knowledgeable about those specific products. Like, again, for me, it's really anything Orlando theme park related. But I mean, there's tons of things too that, like, I'll look at beaches with Sandals properties because they're very big on all inclusive and they're very big with families. So I try to really zone in on that particular niche, and we tell all our advisors to do the same thing, whatever niche is going to work for them. So, and that's where you're going to get that exceptional service, right? Because we want to make sure we know what we're talking about when you come to us.
When I think of travel, I think of cruise ships and aircraft. But what about travel by train? Are people still interested in traveling by rail, even though it's across Canada? Or perhaps, these wonderful, I'm thinking of Orient Express, these really spectacular trips on trains through, Southeast Asia and all of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's still a lot of companies that are available for that. We definitely do. Like, I know I've done Rocky Mountaineer training myself, but it's really something that's not in my niche. Of course, I still want to learn about it because I'm like you, and I think it sounds interesting, and I thought it would be really cool to do that someday. But we definitely have the availability to send people on those types of destinations. It's really based on what people are looking for.
I'm assuming there were, and one should never assume, I know, but different types of travelers. I know there are some people that just like to maybe take a couple of weeks, go lay in the sun, have a couple of cool drinks. There are others that are more adventurous. They want to see whatever country they're traveling, learn about the history, architecture, and all of that. Can you speak to that?
Again, I'm just really going back to my whole family side of travel. But I mean, there's for me, it's really focused on what the families are going to want to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean a theme park. It could be that sitting on the beach. It could be going to Europe on a family tour. There's lots of different availabilities there for families, but there's also different types of travel related niches that you can kind of tap into. So yeah, I know you already mentioned cruising, of course, but there's also like the outsets of that. So like the river cruising, so it's really a different pace versus, ocean cruising. And then of course you've got the adventure travel. We are building a very close relationship with G Adventures right now. So it's really for the younger audience. But there's some for us older folks too, where they've kind of partnered with National Geographic in their Journeys tours. So they're hotels, not necessarily campsites or hostels, right? Which I always laugh. I say I'm too old to sleep in a hostel now, but so there's definitely a lot of those different types of travel options, or even if you just want to do a group tour. So maybe you want to go to Europe, you really want to experience it, but you want to do multiple countries and you don't want to have to worry about any of the logistics, which, by the way, is where we come in. But there's also group tours available where you can have everything's just a package. So you basically just show up and you've got guides at your side the whole time, really taking care of everything that you need while you're on site. Once you've already booked the travel. So there's definitely so many options available to really every traveler that is out there.
Do you ever have clients who come to you and say, I've never traveled in my life, just got my passport, I want to travel, but I don't know anything about traveling, I don't know where I want to go, and they kind of, lay that in your professional lap, if you will, and so have you encountered folks like that, and how do you help people like that who have no experience whatsoever, and like I said, maybe they don't even know where they want to go, they just want to go somewhere?
I've definitely had people come to me that have never traveled before, and I think that's why they seek us out. But most people know kind of an idea on what they want to do. I know I always talk about this client. I love them so much, but she actually saw me at a trade show, and she said, I'm not doing it without a travel agent. And like 2 years later, she came to a show in hopes that I was there because she lost my information. So, and she was that traveler that she's been talking about it, but she's just never gone. And then they did book a trip with me, but they knew where they wanted to go. But I think what was nice is that she really had me to kind of pick my brain if she had questions or what to do. And, I met with them multiple times because that's what we do. We want to make sure that they're comfortable and stress-free. So there's really no worry at all.
And recently I've had a client approach me and ask, send me somewhere with beautiful views. So sitting down and talking to them about what they're looking for is really a crucial element to figuring out where you can send them. Really, anywhere on the planet that you can travel to, we can send you. So give us your ideas and we can map something out for you.
Now, I know a lot of people have, dietary restrictions, physical limitations, and all that kind of stuff. Does that really limit them a lot when it comes to where they can go and what they can do?
It may not limit them to where they can go, but it may limit them to how they're traveling. Like I know all of the suppliers we work with have everything accessible for everyone. But like you might be, if we go back to the river cruising, you might have to cross over to another ship to get off the ship, if that makes sense. So we actually had to do that when I was there, and we had to leave our ship, cross over another ship, and to get onto the port or the dock. So there's those types of things that you really have to consider and make sure that those boats or ships, sorry, they're not boats, I'll get in trouble for saying that, but those ships have elevators, and that they've got the ramps and everything that you need, and in most places you're going to see that they've rebuilt their peer access. So you've got a lot of different options. But that's definitely something that we would work with the client, because we want to make sure that that trip is booked well in advance to make sure we have those accessible rooms, because there's usually limited numbers based on where they're going, right? So we want to make sure that we have that planned as far in advance as we can to make sure that we get them the best experience, and so that they have a wonderful vacation just like everyone else.
Is there accommodations for caregivers and the like? Like, is there special deals or allowances made for attendance?
Yeah, I think it really would depend on where you're going, but I think for the most part, you're going to be paying that extra fee or whatever it is if they need an additional room, unless you're going as a large group. So there's certain things that you could do for the people that may need those extra that extra need, I guess. Like I'm just going back to Disney because that's what I know. Again, like you have options to kind of skip the lines and those types of things, but I don't know that there's any special rates for the caregivers that would be going.
I noticed on your company's Facebook page, Our Destinations Travel, that you're a Universal Studios Hollywood specialist. That sounds like fun. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, I love Universal. Like I said, when I was talking about Disney, it's really anything Orlando themed. But I also have been to Hollywood, and I've done Universal there as well, which is wonderful. I always love when clients ask me, "What's your favorite park?" And really, they're two different parks. You have a lot of the same attractions and things like that, but they're still different parks. So what I like about Hollywood is that you have the option to go and do a studio tour, which is real live working sets where people are still filming. So there's a lot of cool features to Hollywood that you're not going to get in Orlando. Not that Orlando's not fun, because it is. I was just there. But yeah, so there's definitely, we'll definitely take you anywhere you need to be. But Hollywood is definitely a lot of fun.
Seretha, because you're just starting on your travel journey, what's on your bucket list of places to go and things to see?
Absolutely. So up first is Salem. I've always been fascinated with the witch trials, and I'm super excited to go down there in August. And then obviously we have to go where all the spooky things are. So Europe, castles, anything with that history that has kind of a little bit of the macabre in it. That's where I want to go. And then my family really wants to go to Hawaii, so I'll probably have to cave and go there.
Ho hum, Hawaii.
So yeah, there's definitely a very extensive list, but I'm just looking forward to being able to travel and meet new people. That's a bit of a problem for me. I've never met a stranger. So I look forward to talking to all different people from all different walks of life.
I've been on the Jack the Ripper tour in
I love the
London,
Jack the Ripper.
and
Yep.
that's a great tour. I hear the Paris Catacomb tour is actually a really cool one too. So certainly a couple there that you can kind of play with, but there's a pretty long list of places to go with that sort of theme. But is that going to be your niche? Is that what you're looking to help people with?
I think so. That doesn't mean I can't send you to Mexico. I just booked a lovely couple to go to Mexico. But really, for me, I want to look at those out of the way places. The less touristy, the better. I want to be able to have you immerse yourself in the local culture. Vietnam comes to the top of my mind. I had a friend that went there for a month and just absolutely adored it. So little places that are different.
And for me, if I came to you and I was looking to go somewhere, my two basic requirements are A, all inclusive, because I don't want to have to worry about anything, and B, I want to disconnect. So other than
Absolutely.
sending me to Alaska, um, what comes to the top of your mind first? Go ahead, Kelly.
Real anything all inclusive, you're always going to be looking at down south. But if you're looking at being completely secluded and maybe not that resort type feel, we have plenty of options, villas, those types of, and that's actually kind of a big thing now since COVID hit, where people are looking for less resort type feel, or at least a smaller resort. So those are the types of things that I would be looking for. And I don't know if you had an island in mind, but there's definitely a lot of different options. I know I've really been looking at Jamaica lately, but we also have some Dominican Republic, like those types of islands, which are going to give you that all inclusivity. But you're also going to have the option for some villas, so you can actually get completely private if you want, just kind of chill in your own pool and not have to worry about anything else, or looking at a smaller resort, which I actually have been sending some people to, because they would just prefer that small resort feel and don't want, the big party that you get with some of the bigger resorts too.
I am certainly a little old for the party part. Um, 9 o'clock, I'm out. But certainly for me to disconnect. I mean, 2.5 years of working from home, I'm kind of done. I'm a little baked, and I just want to be able to chuck the smartphone in the drawer and relax.
And I mean, you could definitely do that with like some of the places like Seretha mentioned, but you're going to have a hard time finding that all inclusivity, right? So you're either going to be paying for food, or you're going to be paying for like, or both food and alcohol. So it's really just what you're looking to do, or what you're willing to kind of accommodate on. So
I
that's
can
really
handle without the alcohol exclusive
okay.
or inclusiveness, because I'm an expensive drunk. Um, and I'll bring my own as much as what I'm allowed to bring, but I'm not going to pay resort rates for an 18-year-old Scotch. That's just not going to work.
Right. No, I completely understand. But yeah, so I actually, that just came up. I just sent some quotes to a couple as well, and they were really kind of all over the place and not sure where they wanted to go. They mentioned some different places that they wanted. Of course, Hawaii came up, but Hawaii is considered U.S., so there's no all-inclusive in Hawaii, which I think was kind of a deal breaker for her, which is really too bad, because Hawaii is beautiful. So we'll get Seretha there, don't worry. But yeah, it's just really, it's what you're looking, what's going to be more important. Do you need that food included, or do you want that absolute beauty and disconnect that you're looking for, right? So it's really kind of weighing those two factors and really getting to know your clients and finding out what is the most important thing for them.
Now, you had mentioned that, of course, your specialty was more on the family side of things, Disney and the
Mhm.
like. But what are you seeing from your clients that are coming in the door? Is it mom and dad looking to get away from everything, including the kids, and go on an adventure on their own, or are they looking to do families?
Well, right now, and they're looking to just go away. So they don't want to bring the kids with them. They're done. Like you said, they're done with being stuck in the house and being the grocery store being the only outing. So I think they're just going wherever. But I know, like pre-COVID, a lot of my focus was obviously because they were family. A lot of them wanted to do family things. So the ones that really want that both options, I would kind of push them maybe towards either a resort with a kids club or ocean cruises have great kids clubs available. So the mom and dad can kind of go do their thing, while the kids are having a great time in the club, but then they can all meet again at dinner and have a great time, or go off in the ports and have a great time, or at the resort, whatever it is that they're doing. So I think I'm kind of getting a mix of both. So it's really depending on what that client is actually wanting. And like I said, right now, they're just wanting to get away.
Saritha, I'm curious about the learning curve. There must be a great deal to learn. I mean, you're about a month into it. I assume you want to attain the level of senior travel consultant like Kelly. So is it like sort of an apprentice? Do you work under or work with Kelly? And tell us about all that you need to learn.
Sure. So it's kind of a jump in the pool, jump in the deep end, figure it out. But we have a ton of agents that are available to help answer questions for me. We have one lady based out of New Brunswick, Sean, who is just phenomenal at answering technical questions as well as getting you in the right site and being very, very patient, as is Kelly. But for the most part, it's learning on your own, doing the online courses, attending the webinars to see what it is that's out there and what you can offer your clients.
So just as to kind of close things out a little bit, what's if you were able to give folks one key piece of advice in planning travel, what would it be?
Book a travel agent.
Yeah, I set you up for that one, didn't I?
Kind of did. Well, I tell people that all the time, and I'll say, even if you're not using me, use a travel advisor, because they're your greatest resource, always. And like I said, most cases you're not going to pay a fee. And I know the only time we ever would charge a fee is for flights, only because we don't make commission. So obviously we don't want to work for free, right? But for the most part, if you're booking packages with us, the companies are paying us. So you're not paying us. So you're paying the same fee you see online, except you're getting the bonus of an advisor for free. And we do as little planning or as much planning as you want. I have clients that want to do all of their Disney planning, but just want me to book it to make sure those T's are crossed and those I's are dotted. And then I have other clients that just want me to do absolutely everything for them, and we love them all. So that my strongest advice is to always use an advisor, even if it's not us, although we'd rather it be us. But obviously, just anytime, just use that resource. It's free. Don't let it, don't not use it when you can.
And how can people find you?
There's lots of ways. So you can always, our website obviously is our best resource for us, so ourdestinations.com. Or if you already know your advisor, you can just look up their Facebook page at Go Away With. So for me, it's Go Away With Kelly, Go Away With Seretha, and of course all our other agents is the same for them. And our websites are also the same. So it would just be like ourdestinations.com/Kelly or /Seretha. And you can send us a message through the Our Destinations Facebook page. We can reach out to you through there, or shoot us an email through the website, whatever way that you want to. Our phone numbers are listed as well, and we'll always make sure that somebody gets back in touch with you.
Kelly Belliveau and Seretha Gaudet of Our Destinations Travel, thank you both so much for this interview on the podcast. We've learned a lot. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this has been Outside My Window.